Imagine, two men in power bully a young sailor to the edge of life. They think they'll get away with it. But what they don't know is that a quiet, kind-hearted woman is about to unleash a storm so powerful. It will cost them their homes, their careers, and their future. This isn't just a story of bullying. It's a story of righteous revenge delivered by the most unexpected person. If you've ever wished that people who abuse their power would face true justice, you're in for a treat. Smash that like button, subscribe, and let's dive into one of the most emotionally intense revenge stories you'll hear this week. This story takes us deep inside the U.S. Navy, specifically a submarine base in Connecticut. Our storyteller was stationed there during his service years. Among the recruits, he met someone who would change his perspective forever. Let's call him Bill. Bill wasn't your stereotypical soldier. He was short, wore glasses, and carried a little extra weight. But behind that humble appearance was one of the sharpest minds in the entire class. As a sonar technician in training, Bill had the kind of logical, calm, and focused thinking that could make missions successful. But, as life often goes, brilliance sometimes attracts cruelty. Two petty officers were in charge of their training. These men were the classic bullies in uniform, obsessed with physical fitness, constantly flexing their authority, and somehow believing that their role in a technically demanding field made them super soldiers. They ignored the actual requirements of the job: math, computers, sonar systems, and instead focused on turning every training session into their personal boot camp. Most recruits managed to keep up with their workouts. Bill, he tried, really hard. But he didn't meet their extreme, unrealistic standards, and that's when the verbal abuse began. Fat, lazy, you're not fit for the Navy. They'd yell, humiliate, and break him down in front of everyone. Even though Bill passed all official fitness requirements, they kept pushing as if his worth depended on their ego. One day, Bill injured his knee during a run. It wasn't minor. He went to the base doctor and got official light-duty paperwork, excusing him from intense physical training so he could recover. When he presented the paperwork to the petty officers, expecting understanding, they ignored it. They threatened him with being kicked out if he didn't keep training. So Bill, loyal and scared, kept pushing through the pain. And in doing so, pushed himself mentally and physically to the edge. Mental health services in the Navy at that time were practically non-existent. The only person you could talk to confidentially was the chaplain. In this case, a small, kind-hearted woman who held the rank of captain. Bill, desperate for support, scheduled a meeting with her. He told the petty officers he'd be missing class to see the chaplain. Their response? They mocked him, called him weak, told him no one would care, threatened to make his life even harder if he didn't show up to training. And in that moment, Bill canceled his meeting. That same night, life dealt another cruel blow. His girlfriend broke up with him. At 3 a.m., the narrator's phone rang. It was Bill, but all he could hear was silence. He assumed it was a butt dial or a drunk call. He hung up. The next morning, everything changed. Bill had slit his own throat. It was only by a miracle, the cold weather causing blood to clot just enough, that he survived. When the narrator and friends rushed to the hospital, they crossed paths with the chaplain in the hallway. She wasn't crying, she wasn't calm. Her eyes burned with pure, righteous rage. She softly told them Bill would survive, and then said something chilling. I won't forget this. In that moment, everyone knew. Someone was about to pay. A week passed. The trainees were called in by the Chief of Training Command. He said he wanted to check if there were other complaints about these petty officers. The narrator and his friends shared everything, every lie, every abuse, every manipulation. But deep down, they suspected it wasn't really needed. The chaplain was already moving behind the scenes. The next day, the two petty officers were gone. New instructors took their place just like that. Curious, the narrator went to see the chaplain. She told him, with tears in her eyes, that she had never been more disgusted by the actions of sailors in her entire career. They had not just bullied Bill, they had actively prevented him from seeking help. She went straight to the admiral in charge of the entire base, demanded their immediate discharge. And the admiral granted it. The two petty officers were processed, out of the Navy with other than honorable discharges, a career death sentence, no retirement benefits and no veterans benefits, kicked out of base housing, only a one-way bus ticket home. One of them was 2 years away from retirement after 18 years of service. Gone. The other was 12 years in. Gone. With their discharge, they couldn't work for any company with defense contracts, including McDonald's, Taco Bell, Subway, because all have contracts on bases. Their future was ruined. The chaplain didn't yell. She didn't threaten. She used rank, justice, and moral authority, and she crushed them. Bill made a full recovery. He received a medical discharge, granting him E5 pay for life, full benefits, and counseling support. Years later, he rebuilt his life. Became a police officer, got married. The Bullies, they vanished into obscurity. In the end, two arrogant bullies thought they were untouchable. But they made one mistake. They underestimated the quiet power of someone who truly cared. The chaplain didn't just get revenge, she delivered justice with surgical precision. They lost everything. Their house, their careers, their future, and Bill, he got the life he deserved. This story reminds us, power can be abused, but it can also be used to protect, to defend, and to deliver justice. Sometimes the sweetest revenge doesn't come from rage, it comes from someone who knows exactly where to strike. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button and tell us in the comments, what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories every week, right here on the Payback Room.